we have to be careful when we're having conversations about equity and equality and diversity and inclusion, all these different elements, because many times we jump into them without helping people understand the definitions of what we mean by these various terms and the terminology and what the impact that it will have on our decision making and how we design educational opportunities at our campus. And I think that that's the part that we oftentimes skip. We make an assumption that people understand the variations in these particular terms. I also think that it's important for us to understand the elements that actually feed into inequities. I think we jump right into designing an intervention and then we don't step back and understand the why. Why do we have inequities? Why are some students actually better prepared than others? What are the cultural, the social, the political, the environmental aspects that they're coming from, or the environments that they're coming from in order to actually address the inequities? I think understanding the why behind this is going to be a critical piece, because we automatically jump in and blame the students versus saying we've got to understand the complexities of the educational environments that they come from. Once we actually do that and have that particular piece, we as an institutional educators, as leaders, need to delve deep into looking at our own systems and policies and practices and the way that we design assignments. I mean, and understand that we are coming with a level of bias into these conversations. We are coming with a level of preconceived notions about students, and we need to acknowledge that. And once we acknowledge that and have those conversations at a level where it's not about pointing the fingers, but saying we're here to improve our educational environments, I think that we can move forward in those conversations. We talk at AAC&U, and we have a new book that's coming out with my colleague Estella Ben-Sabone and Lindsay Malcolm-Pecue on From Equity Talk to Equity Walk. We in higher education, we have an equity talk. It's become a buzzword in higher education. But do we actually have the walk? Are we willing to particularly examine racial equity across the board so that we can actually examine our racialized practices at our campuses so that we can eliminate them, especially given the growth of our students that are coming from various racial and ethnic backgrounds. Almost every single campus across this country has a diversity, equity, or inclusion statement. I think we actually need to hold true to those statements. We need to actually step back and ask ourselves, how are we creating an equitable educational environment? What is it that we're actually doing? How do we know that we're making progress for our students? What does diversity actually mean in practice to us? How are we measuring that? How are we actually valuing the diversity of not just the students who come, but also our educators on campus, but the diversity of thought? And so when we're having these conversations about equity, I want us to start there. Let's be true to the values that we've actually said and lifted up as an institutional priority for us. I also think that when we get data and we have those conversations, whether we're looking at course level data or program level data or data across the institution on student success, to first step back and ask the question, why? What are some of the reasons that we may be having these inequities? And not looking at it from a deficit from students, but actually looking at it, what does it mean for us? Are we being student ready? Are we creating an environment that is helping all of our students that we actually admit to our institution be successful? And if not, then why is that happening? Are we not providing the services? Are we not thinking more intentionally about our interventions? Are we not thinking more intentionally about the academic and social support for students? Because once we admit them into our institution, we've made a moral commitment to them and for their success.